would like to sign on to that. And so from a procedural standpoint, I'm considering that someone may want to make a motion to that effect. And I'm open to a motion. Councillor Lehan.
Your Honor, I move to approve the signing of this letter from the mayor on behalf of the full city council. And I would also like any councilors to be able to sign on their own in addition, if anyone is so inclined.
I'll second.
Is there a second? And we have a second. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I can't see can you guys hear me okay? This is Councilor West.
Councillor West?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't see if hands are going up or not. So if you guys could just let me know what the flow is, that'd be helpful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I will.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I will narrate the flow. Is that really what you're asking?
Yeah,
Yes.
kind of just because I can't see. I don't want to talk over anybody. I don't want anybody to talk, just to be for decorum.
I'm with you. Okay. So going to at this moment, I will again ask if there is any discussion. If so, please raise your hand or state your name if you're on the phone.
So just for Councilor West edification, the mayor made the motion, the mayor asked for a motion. Councilor Lehan made the motion. It was seconded by Councilor Ackerval. And now the mayor is asking for if there's any discussion by council. So that's where we're at. So if you wish to participate in discussion or have anything you'd like to add, Councilor West, you can simply, since we can't see you raising your hand on the screen, you can simply ask to be recognized by the mayor.
Mayor Fitzgerald, Your Honor, I'd like to be recognized.
Mayor West, excuse me, Councilor West, you're recognized.
Thank you. In this special session, the motion before us is whether or not to have Mayor Fitzgerald sign onto a letter on behalf of the council or for other councilors to sign their own name and title onto this letter. The letter asks us for Commissioner Scholl's immediate resignation because of his disturbing, dangerous, and reckless comments. I believe it's important to note that just a few days ago, our representative, Democratic Congressman Kirk Schrader, likened impeaching President Trump to a lynching. And this language is also racist and historically dangerous. As elected officials, we have to do better, and we have to learn from these instances. I encourage the council that if we are to take action against political speech, we must apply the standard discussed tonight evenly and equally. We are nonpartisan elected officials, and we must ask ourselves if the letter is partisan. It is my hope that this council, now or in the near future, would appropriately affirm that all political rhetoric of this nature, regardless of party or ideological beliefs by elected officials and community leaders, is inappropriate and unacceptable. Let me be clear. I fully condemn, in the strongest terms possible, Commissioner Scholl and Congressman Schrader's inflammatory, hurtful, and ugly comments. These comments, like this, are incongruous and antithetical to our values in Clackamas County and the city of Wilsonville. Now, I believe we have a process on how to judge a politician's political speech, and that process is elections. If the voters don't like Commissioner Scholl's comments, they can start a recall process in 6 months or vote him out of office at the end of his term if he chooses not to resign. But right now, I'm not comfortable voting to participate in an unevenly applied standard that promotes cancel culture, and I'm not convinced that this has not become a highly partisan action.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any other discussion? Councillor Lehan.
Yes. I was very disturbed as well by Congressman Schrader's comments, and I left a very strong message on his recorder. The difference here is no one has asked us to sign on to a letter asking for his resignation, which I would be happy to do. Now, if you feel strongly about, if anyone feels strongly enough to do that, we didn't originate this, that we have been asked to participate on this. And I would be happy to do it with Schrader as well. I had thought about writing him that on my own accord. So this is not a partisan thing. It's not it's just that someone has stepped forward in a nonpartisan way because Tootie Smith and Representative Drazen or Senator Drazen are both on this letter. These are significant Republican players. So that's not a partisan letter, but it has moved with a lot of impetus, and partly because there is so much there on if you follow what he has written over the years. I think that Congressman Schrader was beyond the pale as well, but it was only one comment that I'm aware of. So it's a little different thing. Not that I wouldn't sign one asking him to resign as well. But it shouldn't stop us from responding on this when so many people from both sides of all sides of the political spectrum have already signed on to this. I think we are conspicuous by our absence if we don't join.
Thank you, Councillor Lehan. Councillor Linville.
Your Honor and fellow councillors, I take seriously the resolution that was passed by our City of Wilsonville City Council Resolution 2626 and signed on the first day of May 2017. And specifically, that resolution, I strongly agree with, and it calls for all Wilsonville residents to unite and work together to promote kindness and understanding in our shared community, rejecting hatred, bigotry, and divisiveness, as this community strives to protect the freedoms held dear and granted to all by the United States Constitution. And that is just a small statement taken out of that resolution. I think this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our commitment to that resolution. And as a result of that, I think that it is appropriate for us to respond to this request. And I will be voting in favor of this and give every one of our counselors the opportunity to respond in the way that they feel most comfortable.
Thank you, Councillor Linville. Councillor Aukervall.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Linville's comments here. I also, in addition to reviewing the material supplied in our packet.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt, and I know that you were about to say what was on your mind. I'm being told that our live stream has dropped, and people are contacting us saying they really want to hear and listen in on what council's saying. So that is the only reason why I would ever interrupt a member of council. I'm going to ask that you give us a second to see if we can get that live stream up. If we could just pause, everybody pause their video and their mute their microphone. I will get back to you as soon as we have that live stream up. I apologize, Council President Ackerwall, for interrupting you. If you could give us just 1 second.
No worries.
And this is Beth. I'm working on it. I'm sorry. I thought it had it working, but
Beth, this is Kim. I have a question for you.
yes.
Can I provide them the Zoom link and they just can come in as without audio or video?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so I have two people coming in. It will be Corey Buchanan, and Brian Evers.
Okay.
Coming in now.
And Corey just texted me, basically saying what I just stated.
Can,
So I'm
can
gonna
I ask a
tell him-
quick question?
Yeah, let me respond to this text, Counselor West, and then I'll get right back to you, okay? Or is the question of me or of the mayor?
I guess I have two, and for both maybe. One, when did it cut off? And so or I guess maybe you're finding that out, like what was on public record and available for everybody and and when did it stop or did it ever start?
So
And
the
then
la-
my other question is,
Everything that's been discussed is recorded. It's just that we lost our live feed, so people that are watching won't be able to see it live. So I don't know.
I think
Go
we're
ahead,
back.
Beth.
I think we're back live. I have been recording it through Zoom.
Yeah, it's recorded. Do you know when the live feed dropped? So if there's anything that counselors wish to re-emphasize, or if the mayor needs to go back and just start the council discussion again, so that people that are listening in can get this fresh, so they don't have to go back to the video later.
Yeah, and I apologize. The entire meeting was not streaming live.
Okay, so then what I'd recommend then, to be fair to the people that are watching that want to hear what counselor said, I will ask the mayor then to just essentially allow to each member of council to summarize their main points, or if they wish to just basically restate what they've already said, unless there's any objections by the mayor or council to do that. So Mayor Fitzgerald, I guess I'm asking you to come back on, and I think you've heard what I've said, and I'll ask you how you wish to proceed. We do have it recorded, so for anybody that wants to watch it in the future, we have that. So I guess I'm turning it back over to you to ask you how you want to proceed.
Thank you, City Councilor Cosgrove. I would like to resume our meeting. I'm just going to do a quick replay of the beginning of mayor's business and go from there. So
Okay.
we have called, thank you everyone for our technical difficulties. The meeting was recorded by Zoom, but the live feed was not working. So we have officially called the meeting to order. We've done a roll call, the Pledge of Allegiance. We've had our motion to approve the order of agenda approved, with the point that we did approve adding a mayor's business at the end of the, or excuse me, a city manager's business at the end of the meeting. So I would like to bring us to the point noted on the agenda at 5:05 p.m. mayor's business. And this meeting has one main agenda item in addition to what we will hear later from the city manager. And that is regarding a request we received from the mayor of Lake Oswego, Joe Buck. And Mayor Buck has asked for our city councilors and the mayor to sign on to a letter that we have received that is dated January 12th, 2021. And it's regarding the request by a number of elected officials in Clackamas County and in the region for Councilor Mark Shull to resign his position. And what I would like to do, we considered a motion. We did make a motion. I could have the city recorder read that. Would that be appropriate, Brian?
Yeah, I could summarize the motion that Councilor Lehan said, and she can tell me whether or not I'm a good listener. How's that? I think the main gist of the motion was that she made a motion to allow the mayor to sign that letter on behalf of the city council, and to also allow any individual member of city council to use their position, their title rather, and their name to be added to that list if they so choose. Does that summarize your motion, Councilor Linville? Or excuse me, Councilor Lehan? Sorry.
Yes,
fair
that
assessment?
was it. I mean, the
Okay.
essence was that that the mayor should sign on behalf of the city. And then in addition, if anyone wanted to sign individually, they could. And I only say that because in looking at the letter, many other city councils, the councilors also are listed individually, not just the mayor.
That is correct. And then that motion was seconded by Council President Ackerball, and then you opened it up for discussion, and you first went to Councilor West for discussion.
Yes, and I would like to now ask Councilor West to restate his comment, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I will try to summarize them. If they're recorded and will be made publicly available to the residents of Wilsonville, they can read kind of my whole. I'll try. I don't think I need to be as long-winded this second time around. But I agreed that Commissioner Scholl's comments were beyond the pale, and they were very voluminous. There were many. And so I agree that those comments are disturbing, dangerous, and reckless. I also brought up the point that just a few days ago that this is an unfortunate trend because our representative, Democratic Congressman Kirk Schrader, likened the impeaching of President Trump just recently to a lynching. And I also think that this language is also racist and historically dangerous. And it was really wonderful to actually hear that the common sentiment from Councilor Lehan also about that. And I guess I wanted to make sure as a nonpartisan board and local elected officials that we act in a way that was not partisan, and that we were even-handed and operated equally in how we dealt with this very difficult and saddening situation. And so my point is that I hope either tonight or in the near future that we could take equal action against Representative Congressman Schrader. If that means that we also, I don't know if I can amend do an amendment to the motion to include that we do a similar action against Congressman Kirk Schrader to make sure that we are not acting in a partisan way and that we are condemning this type of behavior across the board and expecting more and better of our leaders, as I know everybody on this council wants to do better and is always looking to learn from these instances. I agree that there has been a large outcry against Commissioner Scholl's actions. Commissioner Scholl will stay county commissioner no matter what we say, unless he resigns or unless he's recalled in 6 months. The voters choose to remove him. And his political speech was disturbing, of course, to say the least, and was highly offensive. So I want to make sure that we are acting fairly and equally across the board. And we have two really horrible instances where we have to address these issues with two different people that represent our city and the residents of Wilsonville. So I guess that's kind of the point of my comment. I made similar comments to this just a few minutes ago. I'm sure that will also be on the record. But I guess I would like, if possible, to amend the motion to also take equal action regarding the lynching comments from Representative and Congressman Kirk Schrader.
Excuse me, Councilor West, at this moment for procedure, I think we were restating the initial points, and I would like to ask Councilor Lehan to go with her point, and I think procedurally we could come back to that, your amendment at the end, if so.
Perfect. I hope that encapsulated kind of everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now I will recognize Councilor Lehan.
My suggestion would be that is a separate motion. It's a separate set of circumstances. It's a separate issue, and we are all alone on that at this point. the people who put together the letter, I don't know if that was originated out of Clackamas County or out of city of Milwaukee or where it originated, but it didn't originate here. And they already had put that together. We haven't done the research or done anything to bring on anybody else. So by the time we reached that request reached us, there had been a lot of people already signed on, and a lot of research had gone into it. And if we're going to do that, we need to put the work behind that, or find out, are any of these other cities also as offended by Congressman Schrader's remarks as well. So I don't think it's just a separate issue. It's a separate motion and a separate path that needs to be followed.
Excuse me,
It's not an amendment to this.
may I intervene on this before because we wanted to go back and restate our process as we had been doing. And Councillor West I don't know if you were officially making an amendment or saying you might make an amendment. Would you perhaps want to take that off the table to bring it up after this discussion?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me make sure I wasn't muted. I would be more than willing, after we get just caught up, to come back and revisit that conversation about a possible amendment or no amendment. But I agree, let's get everybody caught up for the viewers, and then we can come back to that. I'm sorry for mixing the two.
So I'm assuming that, would you just for the record state that you're withdrawing that amendment at this point, so we have that officially?
I'll withdraw that amendment at this point.
Thank you.
With the intention to revisit it in a few minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Lehan, would you like to go back and recap any of your comments for the listening audience?
Well, I think that, well, I can't remember what I said when. I said a lot of things both times, but mostly that this is that this particular initiative, this letter, is certainly a surprisingly bipartisan effort. That the chair of the Clackamas County Commission is signing on, that Representative Christine Drazen is signing on. That's who is also a Republican. And I don't know, out of all those mayors and city councilors, nobody's putting down their party, but my guess is they are across party lines. This is not a party split. It's not really a party partisan thing, because most of these cities are not. You're running as a nonpartisan, so that's really not an issue, and it does cross the political spectrum for who is on here. So.
Thank you, Councillor Lehan. And do you have any additional comments? I want to make sure you have the time.
No, I think I've said everything at least twice. And
thank you. I believe next is Councillor Linville.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wanted to just go on the record of really saying that I find the comments and the volume of the comments made by Commissioner Mark Shull as being absolutely inappropriate and something I cannot agree with in any way. And my comment was that in May of 2017, the City Council of Wilsonville adopted Resolution 2626. And in that specific resolution, it states that the City Council encourages all Wilsonville residents to unite and work together to promote kindness and understanding in our shared community, rejecting hatred, bigotry, and divisiveness as this community strives to protect the freedoms held dear and granted to all by the United States Constitution. And I think as an inclusivity resolution made almost 4 years ago, that I support that position for the city council. And I think this is an opportunity for us to be active in rejecting those kinds of comments. So I think it is appropriate that this request would come to our city council, and that each of our councilors, including the mayor, would have the opportunity to choose to sign this document in support or not.
Thank you, Councilor Linville. Council President Aukervall.
Thank you. I think we've now caught ourselves up to the point where we're trying to replay what's happened. But I was just starting to say that I agree with Councilor Linville's comments. And I also reviewed all of the material included in our packet for this meeting, which includes the actual posts that are the core of this conversation, I guess. And in addition, I also reviewed Resolution 2626 that Councilor Linville just referred to. And I would remind the rest of council, as I'm sure you are probably all familiar, that resolution, and I can quote, says that the city of Wilsonville recognizes the inherent worth and dignity of all persons and believes all should be treated with compassion and respect, regardless of race, color, national origin, immigration or refugee status, religion, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, marital status, mental, emotional, and or physical ability, age, or economic status. And I believe in those values when I voted for Resolution 2626. I believe in those values today. And I also understand that we still have work to do to carry those values forward. The resolution also specifically states that discrimination against any group of persons can negatively impact the health, well-being, general welfare of the city. And I care very much about this city. And I believe that Wilsonville deserves the ideals that we described in Resolution 2626. I believe that all people contribute to our incredible community, and we would not be this special place without everyone's contributions. And I think that our city needs to hear that from us as elected leaders. So I'm very happy to emphasize that this evening. I also believe that speech that is hateful against segments of our society has no place in building strong and healthy communities, which I believe is what we are here to do. And so I am in support of our mayor signing on to a joint letter as she sees fit. I am in support of my fellow council members also signing on to a letter as they see fit and as they see supports the values that we have stated in that resolution 2626, because I believe that is what we want for our city.
Thank you, Council President Aukervall. I appreciate hearing everyone's comments. I think this was a very good discussion, even with the fact that we had to have part of it twice. It's very important topic. It couldn't be any more important. I think we have talked all across our community about the importance of being inclusive welcoming, and fair, finding ways for all the people in our communities, our county, every place we really operate as citizens, to make sure that our fellow citizens have the opportunity for a very good quality of life, prosperity, and being treated in a distinguished and dignified way. And the many points that my fellow counselors have brought up, I think, reinforce that. So if there's no further discussion, I would like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Call for a question.
Counselor
Call for
Lehan has called the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand and say aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
I abstain, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have 4 in favor, no opposed, and 1 abstention. And I know that with our protocol, if you would just very, very briefly state, Counselor West, why you abstain. It's just part of the general practice.
Thank you, Your Honor. I abstain because there is a large ideological divide from the very large group that has called for a resounding resignation. There are a very, very small fraction of other leaders that may hold some of the same ideological views as Commissioner Scholl that have also called for his resignation. And I abstain because we didn't write a letter of condemnation when credible allegations against Representative Diego Hernandez regarding the abuse of women came forth. We said nothing, and we did not call for his resignation. We have not yet called for a letter of condemnation or something to address the most hateful and heinous comments made by our Representative Congressman Kirk Schrader. And I really believe that the best way to hold political speech accountable is through the vote, the recall process. And I want to make sure that we are being consistent. And I'm just not convinced right now that this is not somewhat of a partisan issue at this time on ideological basis. I do strongly on all terms condemn everything that was said. The only thing where I am differing from my abstention is based on me signing on a letter for his immediate resignation. And then I will, that's the narrow piece of it.
Thank you, Councillor West. This matter is now closed, and what I would like to ask each of the councillors to do is if you would choose to sign on that letter, then I think the best thing to do is to email your support directly to Lake Oswego Council or Lake Oswego Mayor Joe Buck, and it would be good to copy me as well if you would like. City Manager Cosgrove, does that sound like an appropriate procedure?
Yeah, or I would be happy to just have Mark Ottenod, since he's been coordinating with his counterpart in Lake Oswego, basically just pass along the vote and provide the names of the mayor and the councilors that want to add their name. If you all want us to do that, we'd be happy to do it. If you want to do it on your own, you can certainly do it on your own.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I make a motion?
Excuse me, Councilor West, I'm not quite ready for that. I wanted to add to this that I do plan to sign on this letter myself as well. So for the procedure, please email Mark Ottenad and he will coordinate that for you if you would like to have your name included. And now I will recognize Councilor West.
Thank you. I can't see you guys, so I'm kind of driving dark here, so I appreciate that. It's hard. I got to be like, what's going on? So I appreciate you recognizing me. I'd like to make a motion that we also write a strong letter condemning the language from Representative and our Congressman Kirk Schrader out of the 5th District for his lynching comments in regards to the impeachment of Donald Trump. And I Hope that we can have that letter by our next meeting on the next Thursday meeting that we have coming up, to make sure that we are being even-handed and equal in how we are addressing these very serious issues.
Thank you. A motion has been made. Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion dies. However, so that closes that. Councillor West, I appreciate your comments, and I would expect we will be able to take this up at another meeting, and there is interest in also reaffirming our inclusivity resolution and taking some other steps in that regard. I would like to now move to the city manager's report, please. Oh,
The city
excuse me.
manager saw a,
Excuse me,
go
Brian,
ahead.
before you do that, sorry. This is the first time I've led a special meeting like this, and I want to ask, in looking at the agenda, we do have citizen comments here. Is that an intended part of the special meeting?
Yeah, well, we always have to have public comment, but it's only for items not on the agenda. So you wouldn't typically have public comment for things that are on the agenda. But you should, do we have anybody wishing to speak on public comment?
Can you please check if there's anyone wishing to raise their hand for public comment?
For items not on the agenda?
I will just read that the citizen input and community announcement is an opportunity for visitors to address the city council items not on the agenda. It is also the time to address items that are on the agenda but not scheduled for a public hearing. Staff and the city council make every effort to respond to questions raised during citizens input before tonight's meeting ends or as quickly as possible thereafter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
So does have anybody that wants to speak?
I don't see anyone with a raised hand at this moment.
Okay.
Hey, Beth,
And
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Barbara. I was in a meeting in Salem. I just came on late, so I just wanted to let you know I'm on the phone.
Okay, so thank you. That was our city attorney, Barbara Jacobson. And from what I can tell in the Zoom call and what's visible to me, I am not seeing any hands raised. Is that correct?
That's
That is correct.
So with that, I will move on to city manager's business.
Thank you, Mayor. Coincidentally, I have a request I would like to make of council tonight that ties into the discussion we're having. It ties into our inclusivity resolution and the matter that you just dealt with. And it has to do with the earlier conversation with staff for our DEI initiative. We had a meeting with our informal group, and I guess I would like to ask for direction or allowance here to allow us to, instead of moving forward with the task force, I think everybody that we've been talking to wants us to just move forward with bringing forth some bylaws and a charter for a DEI standing committee of the city. We all know that it's probably going to end up that way. So if we could start that, we would start with the application, the questionnaire that we've already talked to you about. But instead of spending several months' time and process going through a task force process, we would just start on the actual committee work itself. So that's the request that I'm asking, that you give me that direction tonight. If you have any reservations or questions about that, we can wait until next Thursday and I can make it at that council meeting, but I don't see any reason to delay this any longer. I think everybody that we've been working with really wants that committee to be part of the city. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cosgrove. And I know that there are a number of citizens who have been participating in these early discussions for quite a while. And I also know that there are citizens who are interested in serving on such a committee. if this is a way to efficiently move forward in a way that reflects the learnings and what you have found in this development phase of this, I am in favor of it. Because I know that we have an interest, very strong interest in developing this work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Does anyone else have comments? Councillor Linville.
Well, I guess I'm just not really clear, Mr. Cosgrove, what you're asking for at this point. That would be
So let me-
different from what we would discuss at our meeting on the
Yeah.
21st.
So let me clarify. So the DEI work that we've been doing has been not like getting ahead and jumping to outcomes, but every discussion we've had, the folks that we're talking with are looking for more of a commitment from the city. And I have informally told them that there is support for the DEI work by the city council, and that the idea was that the task force would ultimately make a recommendation to have the council adopt resolution with the bylaws and a charter for a DEI committee, standing committee for the city. So what I'm asking for tonight is just to not go through the task force process, because there's already a desire to have that standing committee. So you would just be bypassing the task force work and getting into the recruitment for the DEI committee itself. The idea would be that we would bring an application with questions for people that are interested in that DEI committee. Have that discussion in early February, late February, and then in March we would come back with charter bylaws for a standing committee, much like we did the Arts and Culture Commission, Metro Enhancement Committee, and the Sister City Committee. So basically what you would be committing to tonight is that you agree that we're going to establish a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee for the city, instead of waiting for the task force to make that recommendation. It feels like people want this committee to happen sooner rather than later. And I haven't heard anything from city council that would suggest that you're opposed to having a standing committee.
Can I make a motion?
Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor West. I had a hand raised by Councillor Ackerval. I know you're not able to see that.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I couldn't see it, sorry. But I'd like to make a motion if it comes to that.
All right, Council President Ackerval.
Thank you. I do feel that this work is very important and we want to forward it, or keep it and progressing. And I very much appreciate the community members that have engaged in these discussions and engage in the momentum. I guess I don't know if this is a comment or a question for you, Mr. Cosgrove, but I do believe the strength of such a DEI committee will be determined by how we set that up, what structure, what their responsibilities are, what I guess there's a lot of framework that will contribute to their success or their limited success. And so I want for us to be very thoughtful in that. And I don't know that we necessarily need to go through a task force process in order to be thoughtful for in that regards. But I think that I guess I'm still not clear on what would be included in the bylaws and all of that information. And I recognize that may take a few discussions for us to work out, and some input from the community as well to work out. So
you fairly well articulated that, which we're struggling with right now. So
okay.
The idea is that we would continue to work with this informal group. We would bounce information off them. We're going to go through the ICMA, International City Managers Association, League of Oregon Cities, see if we can find some bylaws that we can cobble together. but, you know, not to do it like, you know, checking a box, but to really have a good discussion. We've been talking about different areas of the city in terms of services and programs. So we wouldn't just, you know, create something without having a lot of dialogue and conversation. What you're doing, if you approve what I'm asking, what you're doing is you're just cutting 2 or 3 months off the process, which I think everybody has a desire to do that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Linville.
This is just a technical issue, but there's a lot of, somebody has their microphone on and there's a lot of talking going on in the background. I'm wondering if people could mute so we didn't have that. Sounds like somebody's television is on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Linville. Any more comments for Mr. Cosgrove, or questions, discussion with Mr. Cosgrove on this issue? So what I'm hearing is that we are interested in a thorough process. We do have people who have already been engaged and put a lot of time into this. I've heard good comments from these citizens as well. So I do have faith that they will have good representation in developing the framework bylaws and so forth, and that we would have a chance to do that. And so I'm
Your Honor,
in support of that. Excuse me, Councilor West.
Oh, sorry, I can't see. Your Honor, I don't know if this is a motion, but Your Honor, I move that the city of Wilsonville begin the thoughtful process of creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee or task force, and that we begin to start the formal process to make this milestone happen in the city of Wilsonville.
So can I reformat that motion to say that Councilor West is saying, direct the city manager to move forward with the creation of a standing committee for diversity, equity, and inclusion?
That is my motion.
Okay.
Do I have a second? Councilor Lehan has seconded the motion. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
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 I have 5 yes votes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to legal business. Do we have any legal business?
No legal business.
I would now bring us to, it is 5:51 p.m. and I will adjourn the special meeting of the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.